Gary Whitta and Derek Robinson head into the Arctic as Batman and Lex Luthor venture into the cold wasteland to find Superman, but Vigil and his alien friends may have beat them to the punch. Gary Whitta continues his Batman, not Batman story with an issue that gives the Dark Knight a solid game plan and a goal to achieve, which is to get together a team to find Superman's missing Fortress of Solitude. The issue also saw Batman come into contact with Vigil and the alien threat properly and get an idea about them, and Whitta plants some really cool seeds of doubt regarding Superman's heritage and what the Kryptonians did on their planet and what resulted in their planet being destroyed. It's a great little tease to explore in the upcoming issues. Batman's team as well is a lot of fun and not the usual suspects, with characters like Detective Chimp and Dale the Green Lantern turning up, both of which Whitta uses really effectively to hint at previous adventures between these characters and Batman and building up the alternate Earth around them and giving it some sort of backstory and history. Derek Robinson continues on the book and switches things up with a brighter white and blue colour palette thanks to the Arctic setting, but also gets to play with the darker colours too as usual. And I think it's really cool that he made Bruce's Batcave entirely lit by computer screens or Green Lantern's light, since it added a great atmosphere to the story and to the location. And it was also a great visualization of Batman being, alone and isolated in a literally darkened world, being that the power is out throughout the entire world. Batman Fortress issue 4 pushed the story forward in a really meaningful way, giving Batman a solid direction and plan and introducing some really surprising and fun characters. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Batman Fortress issue 4 heads to the Arctic Circle, where Batman is joined by Lex Luthor and his team of specialists. Batman tells Lex that they have to have his security keep their distance, since while he and Kal-El have had their differences, Batman is still his friend, and his fortress is a sacred place for the hero, so he wouldn't want any military anywhere near it. Lex agrees to the rules as Batman tells him that any Kryptonian tech they take to defend themselves from the alien threat, they'll be putting right back where it belongs after, so Lex cannot steal anything, and if he does, Batman and the United States are going to have a big problem. Lex feigns that he would never do anything like that as they get moving through the tundra. Lex asks if Batman ever thought that things would come to this, but Batman thinks that it's just some black swan, a rare occasion where their interests coincide. Lex thinks that it's fascinating to think about them partnering up if things were different, and Batman knows he actually means if he wasn't a megalomaniac, but the president can't take the man who dresses as a bat seriously, wanting to know what it was that made him put on the suit, thinking that it was one hell of a childhood trauma. The men continue through the story and Batman tells Lex that they will be scanning the structure, collecting as much data to analyze as possible, and then they'll formulate a plan with the data to get in. They soon learn their plan won't work as the entire Fortress of Solitude has seemingly disappeared. Batman thinks that Superman moved it, but doesn't know where, finding that he lifted the entire thing up by its foundations. Batman gets to work to try and find a trace of where the fortress has gone as Vigil and the other aliens appear, demanding to know who else seeks the Kryptonian. Lex takes command of the situation, but the aliens have no idea who the president is, telling Batman that they mean him and his people no harm. Batman tells them that people around the world are suffering thanks to the power outages, but Vigil tells them that everything will be restored to as it once was once they complete their mission. Batman wants to know why they are looking for Kal-El, telling the aliens that he's a refugee of a world which was destroyed by a natural disaster, and Kal's father, who was a scientist, sent his infant son to Earth. The aliens are surprised that Jor-El dared call himself a scientist of all things, but it's far from the truth. Batman wants to know what the truth is, but Aklani doesn't trust the humans who are friends with Kal-El. Lex meanwhile tells his men to take the shot, having a sniper from a nearby tundra shoot at Vigil, but the bullet does nothing as Vigil deflects it. However, he deflects it into Keth, who is killed by the headshot. Batman can't believe that Lex used a sniper since he might have just gotten them all killed. Aklani prepares to kill the men, unleashing a shockwave which breaks the ground under Lex and pulls some of his men into a icy fissure. Batman saves the president with a grapple hook, telling him that he regrets doing it as they board Lex's chopper and escape. Vigil stops Aklani from blasting the chopper from the sky, making the alien demand to know why they keep showing these humans mercy. Vigil knows that it's not about mercy, and the one in the mask isn't like the others, and he's looking for the exact same thing they want to, so he might be of some use to them. Keth gets up, having survived being shot in the head as his head wound heals. telling Vigil that he has locked onto Batman's signature and is tracking him. Aklani thinks that they got lucky this time, and if the humans didn't have primitive kinetic weapons, they might be of actual danger. Bruce returns home to Alfred, who implores Bruce get some much needed sleep, offering up a drink to help the hero fall asleep. Bruce takes a moment for himself as a voice asks if he's had a couple of rough days. Bruce finds that his friend and Green Lantern member Dale is there. Bruce asks how he got by security, but the alien says he's a rodent and that's basically his magic power. Dale says that he's there because he heard Batman needs help, and there has been a lot of chatter among the Lanterns who were told to stand down about what's going on. Dale, however, reveals that he also came to Gotham to get a decent slice of pizza, but thanks to the power being out, he can't get any, so he wants to get rid of these aliens causing the blackout so he can have his pizza again. Bruce warns him that going against the Guardians isn't a good idea, but the Lantern isn't bothered, especially since he owes Batman for their last adventure on that mushroom planet they went to. Bruce welcomes Dale to the team, and the Lantern warns him that thanks to leaving without his power battery, he's only got a few days charge left in his ring, so they'll need to move quickly. Batman and Dale head for Nepal to visit an old friend of Batman's, who retired a few years ago and now lives in the mountains. The heroes head into a cave and to a giant door, telling the bouncer on the other side of it that they are there to see DC. The bouncer, realizing that it's Batman, lets them in. However, he tells Dale to stay at the bar the heroes find themselves in, and Batman implores the Lantern to just get a drink on him as he goes to visit Detective Chimp. Batman catches up with Bobo, learning that he's living in a cave and it suits him just as much as it does Bruce. Bruce thinks that business looks good out in the bar, although people like Constantine aren't exactly the customers Bobo wants. Bobo knows that John has been cleaning up doing Russian roulette with other bar patrons, using a spell to cheat at the game and make sure he doesn't get shot. The detective of course knows why Batman is there, but isn't interested in helping since the world is past saving and he's actually up in the mountains since he knows the world is going to shit, regardless of humans or aliens, and at least up there he can survive the coming waves. He thinks that the humans really screwed up, and back when apes were running the show, they didn't have half as many problems as they do now. Batman tells him that he can't just sit on the sidelines since most of the League have been killed or captured, and he's going to fight to save his friends. Bobo was saddened to learn that Victor was killed since he always liked Cyborg, so he decides to help Batman with a one-time deal. Batman tells him that they need to find Superman's fortress of Solitude since he has moved it to a new location. Bobo suspects that Superman is missing and they are going to break into his house to steal some weapons to fight these aliens with. The detective reminds Batman that there will be intense security at the fortress if they can find it, but Batman assures him that he'll deal with that, giving Bobo the scanning data he got from the Arctic. Bobo loads it into his computers and notes that while Batman thinks that he scanned the whole world for the location, he actually only scanned about 1/3 of it. Batman deduces that Detective Chimp thinks that the fortress is underwater, and Bobo quickly finds the fortress is in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the planet. Bobo asks how the hell Batman is going to get there without dying from the immense pressure of the water, but Batman tells him he'll figure it out. Later on, Dale asks what they will do now, so Batman asks if the Lantern's ring could create some sort of shield around them to protect them from the water pressure. Dale knows it could, but he's not too confident his ring would be able to hold enough of a charge to do that without powering back up with the battery. Batman knows that they'll need more help then, and they need an underwater specialist and a thief to help rob the fortress. Dale asks if Batman has any ideas, and the Dark Knight coyly tells his friend that he has a couple.